September 1st, 1965. Pakistan military's plan of capturing Kashmir through covert means had failed, so they launched a bigger armor assault at the Indian positions in Kashmir. Indian positions at the town of Akhnur, north of Jammu, were weak. This was an opportunity that the enemy wanted to exploit by quickly capturing the town and cutting Kashmir off from Jammu. This was Operation Grand Slam. The assault went in, and the towns of Chham and Joria fell to the enemy in quick succession. India sent its air force to stall the offensive long enough for the army to strengthen its defenses at Akhnur. Despite brave and daring measures from the Indian Air Force and the Indian defenses at Akhnur, it seemed certain Akhnur was about to fall, and with that, so would Kashmir. That is when the Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri took a bold decision, crossing the international border and attacking the vital city of Lahore in Pakistan. Codename Operation Riddle. The plan was to cross the international border and threaten Lahore, so Pakistan is forced to divert its forces away from the Akhnur front in the defense of Lahore. Tactically, the main thrust was to concentrate along the GT road from Amritsar towards Lahore, with the objective of capturing enemy territory till Dograi. D-Day was September 6, 1965, and HR was 0400 hours. Under the overall command of General Harbaksh Singh, the operations were to be carried out by 54 Division. September 6, 1965, 4 am. 3 Jat, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Desmond Hayde, initiated the attacks and crossed the international border, and after a brisk action and surprise attack, occupied the villages of Gokhale and Diyal by 5:15 in the morning. 15 Dogra cleared the area between Vaga and Diyal, while 3 Jat moved ahead. C Squadron of 14 Sindh Horse also crossed the border at 5:40 in the morning, cleared the remaining enemy resistance on the way, and linked up with 3 Jat at Diyal at 6:30. Meanwhile, the enemy was made aware of the attack from the Indian side, and they quickly scrambled their F-86 Sabre jets to attack the Indian thrust. The astute enemy also knew that the Indian side would try to cross the Chugil Canal as soon as possible, most likely through Dograi. So they blew up the bridge at 7 am to slow down the Indian movement beyond that point. Brigadier M.S. Rick, the brigade commander, had lost contact with 3 Jat, so he also moved forward and linked up with the Indian forces at Diyal, and ordered 15 Dogra to hold positions at Diyal, and 3 Jat and 14 Sindh Horse to move forward towards Dograi. Their positions were attacked by Pakistan Air Force Sabre jets. This was the first of many air attacks they would face on that day. The Indian side took cover, and the jets went away without doing much damage to the Indian side. At 8:30 am, 3 Jat along with 14 Sindh Horse moved forward to capture Dograi Bridge. This is when a second sortie of F-86 Sabres attacked the column. On this attack, 3 Jat suffered some heavy damage, but Colonel Hayde continued to push the troops to move ahead towards the objective. Soon, 3 Jat reached the village of Lakhank. Unknown to them, the enemy had artillery fire waiting for them on that location. As soon as they reached there, they started getting bombarded with overwhelming and accurate artillery fire. The Indian troops changed locations to get out of the fighting zone, but to their surprise, the artillery fire kept coming to their location. It was highly likely that an enemy observation post was tracking the Indian troop movements and directing accurate fire towards them. 3 Jat had already suffered some losses due to this, and for them to have any chance of moving forward, the artillery fire had to be stopped, which meant they had to quickly capture the observation post and eliminate it. Colonel Hayde assigned this task to Major S.R. Yadav, Company Commander, Charlie Company. Major S.R. Yadav took 2 men along with him, and in covert and swift action got close to the enemy positions and spotted the enemy observation post. Then, in a brave action, they eliminated the enemy observation post With this action, the artillery threat to 3 Jat was removed. Taking advantage of this opportunity, 3 Jat quickly moved forward and reached the east bank of Ichogil Canal. The enemy from 3 Baluch was well dug in and waiting for the Indian troops right there. Charlie and Delta Company of 3 Jat were leading the attack. As soon as they got close to the enemy, they came under heavy fire from the enemy defense positions guarding the canal. Instead of taking defensive positions and forming an attack, the 2 companies of 3 Jat charged straight towards the enemy defensive positions. The enemy was stunned by the sudden charge by the Indian troops and vacated their posts and retreated. By 11:15 in the morning, the Indian side eliminated the enemy defense positions in and around Dograi. Dograi was now in Indian control. India was in the outskirts of Lahore. For the objective to be completely successful, the Indian troops had to cross the Ichogil Canal and form a bridgehead, which could then be used as a launch pad for attacks on Lahore. This is where the Indian side had a stroke of luck. The Dograi bridge, even though it had been blown up by the enemy, was only partially destroyed. So the infantry troops used it to get across the canal and created a small bridgehead. Charlie Company moved ahead towards a town called Badapur, and Alpha Company moved towards Atok. While Bravo and Delta Company, along with the tank squadron, held Dograi against any attacks from its flanks. At 12:15, Charlie Company saw 3 truckloads of enemy troops coming towards Badapur as reinforcements. Charlie Company took cover, waited for the trucks to get close, and opened fire at them. All 3 trucks were quickly destroyed, along with the reinforcement party meant to attack Dograi. Right after that, enemy Sherman tanks appeared on the GT road approaching Ichogil Canal from the direction of Lahore. An Indian tank commanded by 2nd Lieutenant Amarinder Singh on the east side of Ichogil Canal saw the approaching tanks 1200 yards away and fired at them. The first fire hit the leading tank and burst it into flames. The tank behind that started to turn away. That is when Lieutenant Vijender fired its second shot and destroyed the second tank. The Indian troops had created a small bridgehead across Ichogil and repulsed 2 attacks from the enemy on it. Now, their mission was to hold their positions and wait for reinforcements to arrive, so the defenses at the bridgehead could be further strengthened. By this time, the Pakistan Air Force also swung into action. 6 Sabres of 19th Squadron from Peshawar took off to attack the Indian positions along the GT road. This was led by squadron leader Sajjad Mozi Haider. They flew in along the GT road and started striking the Indian positions hard. The 3 Jat troops in and around Dograi also got badly hit by these sabres. They lost multiple RCLs, mortars, vehicles, and other crucial equipment. 3 Jat also lost its second-in-command, Major Marwa. Squadron leader Haider led his squadron very well and did some serious damage to the Indian troops all along the GT road. Despite all the damage, 3 Jat stayed put and did not move back. Their objective was now to defend their positions at any cost until reinforcements arrive. Unfortunately for them, Brigadier Rick had lost contact with 3 Jat yet again. Him and Major General Niranjan Prasad were completely unaware that the Indian side had captured Dograi and created a bridgehead across the Ichogil Canal. Major General Prasad, owing to the heavy losses suffered by his troops along the GT road front, and unaware their troops had crossed Ichogil Canal, thought he had no option but to withdraw his troops from forward positions to consolidate their defenses. So he ordered his forces to retreat to Diyal. Meanwhile, 3 Jat waited for reinforcements and artillery support promised to it until 2:30 in the afternoon. That is when they also received message from the headquarters to retreat back to their positions. The Dograi bridge now was about to collapse, and Colonel Haid had to ensure all his troops crossed back, otherwise they would have been isolated at their positions and risked annihilation. So Colonel Haid ordered his troops to cross back to safety. He was the last one to cross on the east side to ensure all his soldiers were back safely. They then consolidated their defenses in and around Dograi. The Battle of Dograi encapsulates the valor, swift decision making, and resilience of 3 Jat and 14 Sindh's troops that created an opportunity that led to the enemy side redirecting their troops from the Akhnur front towards Lahore. But it also serves as a reminder of a missed opportunity due to inadequate communication and decision making at the higher levels of the Indian command.